Guys, I gotta talk to y'all, man. I gotta talk to you guys because I just finished watching a show on Fox Sports 1 called Speak for Yourself. And they talk about different sporting events. And I wanted to wait to do this video because I knew they were going to talk about something that came across my phone a little earlier today about Lavar Ball starting a junior basketball league, okay, for kids who basically are not planning to go to college, that want to go straight to the NBA, which ironically is a lot of these kids that end up going to the NBA because they're quick to do one and done. Like, none of them really want to stay. A lot of these top athletes, they want to pick up and go. And so I wanted to wait to see how they was going to talk about it first. I've been having conversations with a good friend of mine. Now, let me preface my comments by saying I understand that Lavar Ball says some ridiculous things. I think a lot of times him saying these ridiculous things is for attention and for the reason that he knows people like who I just watched on TV is going to talk about it. The media is going to eat it up. And he realizes that, a lot of times there's no such thing as bad publicity. It's all about attention. And that's why you see people pay a lot of money for commercials because they want your attention. Ads, when you go through Facebook or any of these applications, there's ads that pop up. People are paying for that. They want your attention. And so, but I make sure not to confuse that with the individual, all right, that I'm seeing. Meaning, when you look at him, he's a father. He not arrested, doesn't drink, doesn't smoke, raised 3 kids. I know people think, what's no big deal, but there's a lot of people in these communities, specifically black fathers, who are not in a position to raise their kids for a multitude of reasons. So he's able to do that, and he's able to steer them in the right direction. It's one thing to, give your kids money to go buy sneakers, or, here's the money for your education. There's another thing to actually be a mentor to them, to actually guide them, to actually say, you're going to stay on this right path. That's different. And I think that's where the parenting comes into play. And when you look at what he's able to produce, they're relatively good kids. And so, yes, I know Leandro had this situation that happened in China. But again, if you look at his education, 4.0 student, if anything, I think that situation actually helped shed light on him because now people know who he is, because he was kind of like that lost son. And then you have the younger one who's already projected to go to the NBA. And then you have Lonzo Ball, who's already in the NBA as well. And so for a father to guide his 3 boys and not allow them to get lost in the streets, lost with the influence, I give him kudos for that. And so aside from that, you have also someone who's establishing a business. He's establishing a brand, right? The Big Baller brand. And he's trying to keep it within the family. And he's trying to encourage entrepreneurship. He's thinking outside the box. And I think anytime you see somebody thinking outside the box, you're going to have people that's going to ridicule and criticize him. But I like what he's doing. I like what he's doing with the sneakers. Again, whether it's executed right or wrong, it's the fact that he has the idea and somebody else may look at it and may improve on it. I mean, that's how life is, right? You see somebody else doing something and there's people who paved the way, right? And then the people after them are able to do better than them before. So I think you're going to have people who are talented, who are looking at him and saying, you know what? I don't need to settle and beg for money from Nike or Reebok or Adidas. If they're not going to come to the table with anything or give me any type of control or any type of ownership over my product, I'm going to go and develop it myself. And that's really what he's doing. He's going against the grain. He's creating that competition. He's bringing something new to the market. And he did that with the sneakers. And regardless of how people may feel, people buy him. He had a pop-up shop in New York. From what I heard, I mean, I'm not there, but from what I heard, lines were out the door. It was respectable. So he's obviously doing something right in terms of building his brand. And most importantly, he has everybody on TV, the media and everybody paying attention to what he's doing. So that must mean something. Now, let's get on to what's going on today. So today, he's decided, the news came out that he's working on establishing a league for juniors. And what I like the most about this is that it gives kids the option, okay? And I like that it's NBA rules. I like that he's using an NBA three-point line because NCAA does not do that. And speaking of the NCAA, I'm not a big fan of the NCAA and how they treat these players. They're making tons and tons of money on these players. They pay these coaches millions of dollars. These players are not allowed to make any type of money off of their influence at all, but yet the NCAA does. And a lot of times these kids are not, if they really didn't have to go through the college system, they wouldn't. Most of these people are not leaving the NBA to go back to school. And guess what? They could. And that's the thing. If you can go straight to the NBA, make a living for yourself, you can always go back to school if you want to. But yet they force them to go through this system because, again, it is beneficial for the NCAA. They obviously clearly have agreements with the NBA because that's where most of the talent is coming from, in which they almost force them to be there. And I don't think that that's right. And so having something like this is going to allow these kids now to be a part of something, learn the game, and most importantly, they'll be getting paid. Now, from what I saw, there's a range between $3,000 and $10,000. $10,000 obviously going to the best players, and then $3,000, and everything in between. So obviously they'll scale it however way. I think that's great. I think that's great. $10,000. What's that? $120, $120 a year. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. And so, I watched the show and they just ridiculed them, bashed them, compared them to just the worst of the worst, man. They just compared him to everything negative. Said he's shady, he's this, he's that. Wow. The guy's just trying to do something that is breaking out of the mold, providing options for a lot of kids, and he's doing what I believe a lot of people wanted to do, but maybe didn't want to do it. This is something that you would imagine the NBA would have done a long time ago, but they're not doing that. And so for him to introduce this, I think a lot of kids will be involved. Hell, if I had a son who wanted to play basketball and that was something that we were working towards, I would put him in that league. Because I believe these kids are going to get attention, okay? And people ask, how can he afford to pay them? Because, again, the players are the commodity. It's the same reason why the NCAA is able to make a lot of money on these kids. All they're doing is playing basketball, but the NCAA is making money on them. The NBA makes money on these players. A hell of a lot more money on these NBA players than they're making themselves. They're all underpaid. So nobody's getting what they truly are worth. And so when you think about the fact that he's able to pay them, it's simply because, again, when you look at the fact that they'll be able to advertise themselves, which I'm pretty sure he won't have an issue with, you'll start to see maybe a lot of kids now start building their own brands. And that's what we need, man. We need that type of mentality, that ruling class mentality, that entrepreneurial spirit. We need to be able to create things. I heard all day about certain people wanting to purchase the Carolina Panthers, Puff Daddy. That's easier said than done, okay? Easier said than done. But yet, why not try to establish your own league? You never hear about that. You hear about players talking about, they're treated unfairly here. Here's the reason why I believe a lot of players, don't go out and actually do that, especially after they have the resources and the money to create your own league. And that goes for NBA and NFL. They don't want to put in that investment and wait for it to actually grow and be something, because that might be a 5 to 10 year, time frame before it actually gets to where it needs to be. But a lot of people, when they invest or you're an entrepreneur, you're not thinking that far ahead a lot of times. You're thinking about, how can I make this work right now? I need this to reap the benefits within the first year or two. You're not thinking about, okay, I'll let it rock for the next 10 years. And so a lot of it has to do with the timing and people not wanting to be patient and let it grow. And I feel like what Lavar's doing in 5 years, in 10 years, if it's continually grows, it's going to be a great thing. And it's going to rival the NCAA, and it's going to give a lot of people options, and especially in those communities, because let's keep it real, most of the players in the league are African Americans, right? So obviously the target is there, and so they're going to want to make some money and play basketball. So I'm ecstatic for it. I'm glad that again it's a black man, it's somebody who is an entrepreneur that's coming up with this. I love the concept. Now for him to execute it, obviously we have to wait and see on him actually executing it. But I love it, man. I love it, and I just don't understand why people are saying, yeah, it's a great idea, but I wish it wasn't him that did it. I mean, come on, man. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you guys because I just want you to kind of understand and see how, and I'm talking to you and I'm talking to me. If you have something, you have a vision that you want to accomplish, understand that everybody's not going to always be supportive of it. You have to believe in yourself. You have to be willing to put in that work. You have to be willing to execute. And you just have to be able to block out the noise. Okay, so this is a prime example of somebody who's thinking outside the box. You gotta have a vision. And so I just had to share that with you guys. It's your boy Bo for Anything. Peace and love. If you're not subscribed, please do subscribe. Also make sure you hit that notification bell, and I will catch you on the next video. Peace.